So good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Brown, I'm Director General of the Enterprise Investment Scheme Association. Here we are, yet another one of our videos as we head in towards the tax year end, that busiest time of the year, as we all well know. 31st of January coming up very soon now, 6th of April, not long after that. So we're doing these videos, as you know, kind of 10, 15 minutes, a real quick, short, sharp interview with some of our main protagonists in the arena at the moment. And one of those, of course, is Jack Rose from Triple Point. Jack, do you want to introduce yourself and say hello?
Yeah, hi. Well, firstly, thank you very much for having me on today, Mark. Really appreciate it. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, my name is Jack Rose. I work at Triple Point Investment Management. We're an investment management house based in the city. We work across 4 key areas: venture capital, social housing, energy and infrastructure, and leasing and lending. And we have a range of different investment strategies that work with different products for different clients. You know, at the very core of what we're trying to do is to solve big societal challenges through through some of the work that we do in our investment opportunities. And we'll dive into it specifically on venture, but currently running about £1.8 billion worth of money. Company's grown significantly over the last year or so, and I think large in part to the awareness around impact and ESG investment, which is obviously at a core of what we do.
Yeah, and that's what I want to pick up on, really, because we're lucky.
That's a very quick summary.
I should have given you a time span to do it, shouldn't I? And that's what I wanted to pick up.
I didn't know how long you wanted.
No, you did fine. Don't worry. So that's what I wanted to pick up with you on, because we had Ian McLennan on, your colleague Ian from Triple Point, on one of our webinars a couple of weeks ago, which was specifically on ESG, and we were asking, what does that mean? Kind of what's the terminology around that? But I know ESG is one big thing for advisors who are probably watching, but also for you guys as well. And I know it's really kind of resonating with advisors at the moment. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, I think it's just a groundswell and a bit of a change to it, and an awakening, should we say, and an understanding of that. And there's still some room to go on that, but really, I feel like the industry is really gaining some momentum in that. And I think it's just investors and clients increasingly seeing that profit and purpose can go hand in hand here as a central thesis to their investment. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other. And you can see that not just obviously within what we're talking about today, which is around enterprise investment schemes as EIS, but actually more broadly across people's investment portfolios and what they're looking to allocate to. We're seeing something like £1 trillion globally, record inflows in 2020, and largely I think on the back of it's certainly increased on the back of the recent COVID outbreak and people, I think, just accelerating their social awakening and kind of changing to investor attitudes. Sorry, apologies, realised my phone is about to buzz and I'm going to keep that off.
That's fine, don't worry. Yeah,
bad interview etiquette.
I know, I'm going to cut you off in the next one. So I was reading probably about 2 years ago now, actually, way before COVID, that the next big businesses of the future are going to be those who don't necessarily put profit first, they put their mission first, and their mission obviously lead on to having big profits. That would kind of be a switch around in that sense. So I guess that kind of leads to the ESG bits that you were talking about a minute ago. How's that kind of then affecting how the regulator looks at all this? Is it very much a new area for them? And for advisors and investors, is it a bandwagon, or is it kind of a more of a mental shift than that?
Yeah, I think it is a kind of a fundamental shift, and actually stealing words from Larry Fink, who is the CEO of BlackRock, and just saying, society, is demanding that companies, both in the public and the private sphere, serve a social purpose, and that it's not just about delivering financial performance, but actually showing you make a positive contribution to society. And I think that you, as I said, you're seeing that structural shift with people becoming more and more aware of that, but it is also there in the form of what the regulator is looking at for for the advisory community in the UK, and you're seeing that in the form of MiFID regulations, and the fact that it has to become an explicit requirement to be part of your consideration when laying out clients' objectives. But actually, if you look at it, and you look at all the research around it as well, for advisors, it's being more aware, or the social awareness for their investments is absolutely driven and correlated to younger sets of clients. And obviously, people have aging client banks. That's the nature of advice. It's a really great way to link in with younger generations of your client base, solidify that, engage in that. And actually, if you looked at some of the research and reports that are out there, it's showing, a dramatic increase in uptake from people and engagement on this issue, and, a significant rise in people saying, we want to speak to our advisors about the social impact of our investments. I think regulator kind of going hand in hand with the demand and the growth in that demand as it comes forward. But it's absolutely becoming kind of explicit through the regulator as well that it needs to be something, can't just be ignored or pushed to the side. It's becoming front and center.
Yeah, and I know there's different approaches to sign social impact investing, and there's different words around it as well. You have ESG funds, and social impact. There's all these kind of different takes on it. What's the triple point kind of house view on all of this stuff, and where's your investment approach lie in that sense?
As I said at the beginning, I think for us it's about a marriage of profit and value, and not seeing that there is any compromise between one or the other, and that just because you are delivering financial returns does not mean that you are sacrificing social impact, and vice versa. They can go hand in hand together. I think from our side, if you look at it, the regulator is playing an important part in kind of bringing criteria to the market. And I think if you look to how that is working as it comes through, you're seeing something like, so I think it's over 150 different regulatory measures applied across the globe to financial markets. You've got stuff coming into the AFMD regulation, and as I said, MiFID, but you have trying to assess that performance and work out how you measure it, how you quantify it. Your examples being the UN Sustainability Development Goals, social return on investment, SROI, and other proposals along the way, and methodologies about how to construct a way of analysing the impact, and that's still got some work to do, I think. And each house has their own methodology. It's probably too much for me to cover in detail about how we derive that in this, but we do actually have a very specific model of measuring the monetary impact of our impact to society, which we could talk to investors about how we measure impact and report it importantly to investors, because I think that's the important bit as well, is not just measuring it but actually showing that impact to investors. And again, that's a real faux pas as my team stuff just as I'm chatting.
It's always the way with these things, trying to get the phone call in.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've always felt with ESG investing in, maybe you can answer this one, is if you have a company in your portfolio, you've invested in it, it's told you what it's going to do, it's meeting all its ESG targets, etc., but it's failing as a business, do you keep going with that business? And then vice versa, if it's doing really well as a business but failing on its ESG goals, do you keep it going, or do you that next round of funding, do you say, look, sorry guys, you're not meeting your ESG goals, we're not going to invest again? I'm just trying to work out how that plays out.
So it's an interesting point around the impact and the ESG angle as to whether that company we look for and consider in a business. I think answering your first point about investment performance is from put good money following bad money, and if an investment is no longer making commercial sense, then there is no, you don't lose the rationale of making good, sound investments. It's, as I said, it's at the absolute core of what we're trying to do, is to marry the two together. And if one of those elements no longer seeks to deliver what we set out as being the original mandate, then we would look to stop the following investment. Obviously, there's EIS criteria around hold periods for businesses, so that's why I'm not able to kind of commit to an answer on what happens if a company was to not that any of our portfolio would hopefully get into this criteria, but start to deviate from their mandate that was the reason that they met our investment criteria in the beginning, how we would deal with that given the EIS regulation that's placed around it, in terms of minimum hold periods and stuff. But it would become an absolute consideration for further funding, that is for sure.
That sounds like, yeah, but the company keeps you honest and you keep the company honest, which I guess is good to hear that everyone's kind of holding up their end of the bargain in that sense. So during COVID and obviously coming out of COVID, hopefully, thank God, at some point, do you have any examples within the portfolio of companies that are kind of doing well or very much hitting their ESG goals?
Yeah, so the service that we run, the Triple Point Impact EIS service, is essentially looking to give investors a really nice diversified portfolio of innovative, fast-growing businesses that are making a positive contribution to society, and we're looking to allocate into 4 key areas: so children and young people, the environment, health, and inequality. So those are the kind of 4 target sectors that we're looking to allocate to. And just one company in particular is perhaps an example of a kind of a business that you might pick up in. Well, I say might pick up in the portfolio. This is something that we've done historic, but gives you a flavour of the kind of companies that we look at. Is a company called Grippable. Grippable is a digital hand grip that essentially helps improve the rehabilitation for patients that have impaired hands and arm movement. It's designed for in-hospital and at-home use, and basically empowers a kind of a therapist-led rehabilitation. And you can really see this coming to work in instances where you have stroke survivors, victims of strokes, which there is a considerable number, over 1 million in the UK, who have got significant reduced function and movement. And so having something like this that is there to obviously empower and to improve quality of life for them is not only a great market. There is definite application from a commercial perspective, but it also delivers from a social standpoint. I think it's a really good example of a business that's delivering, what I say, this marriage of profit and value.
Fantastic. Sounds like a great example. Have you got anything else kind of coming up in the pipeline that looks interesting or looks like? Obviously COVID definitely, we saw a slowdown in our deal flow last year. Lots of companies pausing what they were looking to do. Definitely seeing that picking back up over the last 3 to 6 months. We've got, I'm just trying to think, I think it's about 3 deals that we have that we would hope to complete before the end of the tax year. And that can be, as depending on whether they fall out at the last minute, but we're in fairly later stages with them. That's, we've got an ethical jewelry business. We've got a mental health app, and what's the last business? I've forgotten it off the top of my head, but we have a range of businesses, and the pipeline's looking pretty promising at the moment, which is great for us. So yeah, things are in a good place. And then lastly, just to kind of wrap things up quite neatly and nicely, any advice for advisors who haven't kind of dipped their toe in the water of ESG and social impact investing? If they are coming to this for the first time, what advice would you give to them?
I don't see it as being, especially in the EIS space, I don't think that they should be approaching this any differently to how they think and look about their other EIS investments. I think it stands as a really nice, if for advisors that have already got a proposition where they have a preferred panel of providers, I think that this sits really nicely for those advisors who are looking for something that's for those clients that have a specific requirement and interest within impact and EIS, impact and ESG within the tax efficient space. Lots of people have got model portfolios and have got an investment proposition that's geared up for clients who are looking for that kind of solution. Very few have got the complementary tax planning wrappers. This is obviously a really great option for people. But for people coming into it for the first time, I wouldn't look at this any differently to any other EIS investment. As I said, it needs to stand up on its own 2 feet, which our proposition does. But it obviously has all the benefits of delivering societal good, which is what we want to achieve.
Absolutely, and we certainly need some of that at the moment, given what's going on in the wider world. Yeah. So look, Jack, thanks very much. That's another one of our videos done. Thanks very much. As I say, they're always short and sharp.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
And jot them down. So yeah, please do check out the other videos on the website. Jack, I'll just leave you to say goodbye, and then we'll end there. Thanks very much. I'll go and let you answer your phone.
No, thank you for having me. Thanks for having me, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
No problem.